This is our town, Bob Sneddon. We are moving from education now. The first three segments, we had Lane Community College Board of Directors, Sisseton Public Library candidates, and Sisseton School Board candidates. And I think everybody would agree that if we had a few more minutes to spend on each one of them, it would have been nice. And now we're moving to Western Lane Ambulance District Board of Directors. And there are three positions on the ballot. One is held by Mike Webb, who's the current board chair. He's running unopposed. Mike, this is where you get to say hi. I'm Mike Webb.
Hi, Bob. I'm Mark Brennan.
Yeah. And the other one is Rick Yesney is running unopposed. And here's where the disclosure comes. That's a position I've held for the last 20 years. And I resigned earlier this year because I was seeing increasing conflicts with what I was doing professionally at the time. And covering with the news, and I had already chosen not to seek re-election, and then stepped down in February. And Rick Yesney was appointed to my seat. Rick, you get to say hi now.
Bob, thanks.
Okay.
Try and fill your shoes.
Yeah, well, there's 13 extra one. 2 pairs of socks. But I just wanted to put that as a. So I've been involved in Western Lane Ambulance District for many years, and I'm pretty familiar with the issues, but I also have been part of where we are today. So Ann Stone Lake has been there. We were elected at the same time. Ann Stone Lake, you can say it. Hold it up to your mouth.
20 years.
20 years, yeah. And Larry Farnsworth is running against her. So I just want Ann and Larry to have a chance to introduce themselves and talk about some things. And we'll start with you, Ann Stone Lake. What prompted you 20 years ago to run for board of directors of the Ambulance District?
Well, I wasn't prompted. I was asked by Dr. Ullman.
Same guy that asked me.
Yes, God love him,
Yeah.
and his wife Arliss. And I said, sure, I would love to do it. And proudly, I have done it. I have enjoyed every year of it. It's been a pleasure, and it's been a well-run district. I'm not sure if I want to go that far today, but I have enjoyed every minute of it, and I think I've been a good steward of you people's tax dollars.
What do you see a role of a board member in an agency like Western Lane Ambulance?
Well, the 5 of us, the part that I like the best, the 5 of us, we're the boss. We have control. We can make decisions along with the manager. And in the past, that has worked out very well. And so I'm used to a good management, and I'm good to, I am so proud to be a part of a well-run organization, and everybody, for the most part, worked well together. It was a pleasure.
Larry Farnsworth, why are you running for the ambulance board of directors?
Well, I feel like I have some unique qualifications. Aside from being an airline captain, I used to have a previous career in hospital administration. I was a senior financial analyst for a major healthcare company, and also I was director of patient business affairs for 2 different large hospitals. And I was responsible for Medicare cost accounting, negotiating with insurance companies, HMO and PPOs, and I was responsible for 2 turnarounds, financial turnarounds of these hospitals in terms of their receivables. So I have some unique experience, and I do support the intergovernmental agreement that was implemented by both boards, and which is working very, very well, and I look forward to describing how it is working for the taxpayers today.
Okay, and you just introduced something I think is one of the major issues, the differences of opinion between the two of you. Intergovernmental agreement, and Michael, this is one reason why I wanted you here. So if you could, and would you explain to me real quick what Larry's talking about when he says intergovernmental agreement?
Back about a year and a half ago, both boards decided to explore the option of finding a way to commonly manage both the fire and the ambulance district to provide administrative oversight from one common theme. The ambulance district had lost their director to death. We'd also lost a lead person, and we were patching together our current management with interim management provided by Special Districts Association of Oregon. Went into a planning session and a strategic planning session with the community. Community wanted the ambulance district and the fire district to work and play better together. So we opened the door again. This is something we've been down the road before, got close to the edge and stepped back. But we opened the door again to finding a way that we create an agreement where management would be provided by one. The management that was in place was the management at fire. So we made a contract along with fire to provide administrative oversight for the two. And to date, it's been in place since last July.
Since last July, but there was a bit of like a transition too.
There was a transition period for until about November, we still had interim management in place as certain phases were brought in. And it hasn't been without bumps, but it is definitely showing some real strength. Initial year looks like about a combined savings of about $190,000 between the two districts.
Combined?
Combined.
Yeah,
Ambulance is about $32,000, fire is taking the majority of that because we're paying a lot of their services.
All right, I want to come back to that, but I want to set this one up. With that explanation, and you have some concerns about the intergovernmental agreement.
Oh, without a doubt. As this has gone on, I'm not against the IGA. I guess to cut to the chase, I'm not sure I like the people that are managing it. I don't think we have the right players. I have stated in every board meeting, we need to stand alone, get our own manager, and get our office back into place and get it running well. When I say running well, I'm not talking about the paramedics. That is they are the most educated, highly professional group back there. They can take care of themselves. They really don't need us out here. But the office needs to get back to where it's running well and where everything is transparent. And I'm going to cut to the chase. When I received this from the chief, addressed to Larry, and we get a comparison chart here, I didn't understand it. So I went to Hallways and Associates and I asked for clarification. I have that clarification here that's actual. And I'm finding that the numbers that are quoted to us and in this that's projected is not correct.
The $190,000?
Yes.
So what do you have? Let's hear it.
Well, I have it here. It's $89,863.73 that it's cost the ambulance district.
Over and above what would have been, now what's the source? I mean, what is that from? Because I'm gonna ask Mike where the $190,000 number came from.
I have an actual sheet that tells about all the expenses from 2/15 to 9/16.
Okay,
So just cut to the chase. I've argued this for
so the
months.
numbers that Mike said he got from the staff, $38,000 was the savings for ambulance district this year. What you have from Hallway Associates, who is the accounting firm for the district?
Yes.
You have about $90,000. So that's
Yes.
a $120,000 swing.
No.
But can you tell me what difference, I mean, have you looked at the differences? Did they explain?
I
those
just
differences?
I just picked this up this morning.
Okay.
I have been in Eugene all day, and so this, I haven't had a chance to really look it over. I talked it over with a couple of people that kind of knows something about this, and that's just the bottom line.
All right, Larry Farnsworth, the intergovernmental agreement. First of all, you said you're in favor of the intergovernmental agreement, and you have been saying publicly that there have been savings to both the fire district and to the ambulance district. We just heard two numbers, and there's $120,000 separating them. So can you tell me about the $38,000?
Absolutely. What I want to do is show the audience a chart, and I apologize to our radio listeners, but I'm holding up an organization chart that shows before the IGA we had a director, an office manager, and an administrative assistant. And then after the IGA we had no director, no office manager, a new operations chief, and the same administrative assistant. And then on the SVFR side there's a fire chief, an administrative operations chief, and a part-time office assistant. Now, I have an MBA in finance from Pepperdine University, and I'll put my credentials up against anybody in talking about the numbers. And I drilled down on those numbers, and I found a savings of $105,000. And I want to point out to everyone listening that
In the ambulance district?
ambulance and fire.
Okay, combined
And-
105.
And I have the
So we, just to clarify, we have three numbers now.
I understand.
We have 190,
My expertise is financial analysis, and so when I get a set of numbers, I drill down on them. And so I want to point out that Ann has just mentioned that she was looking at expenses back to February of 2015. I'm sorry, the agreement was signed in July of 2016. So expenses going back to February of 2015 just don't count. What we're looking at is apples to apples. When you take a staff model like this one, and you have 4.5 FTEs doing what 6 FTEs did before.
and let's speak English, FTE.
Okay, FTE is a full-time equivalent.
Okay.
So if you
We're talking
have
about employees.
somebody who works 2,040 hours a year, if you have 4.5 FTEs doing what 6 FTEs did before, you're going to have some savings. Now, the other thing I'd like to point out is that before the IGA, the director of the ambulance district was just an administrator. He was a really good guy, but he was not qualified to drive or work in a paramedic situation.
Nor did he want to be, and
No, he did not.
that's not what the previous
No.
boards had.
So what I'm going to say is, the way that we have made this more productive is the operations chief is a qualified, trained paramedic. So we have now an additional FTE that can be available to serve the district. So that's another multiplier. So I drilled down on all the numbers. I went through it line by line, and I looked at the savings. I came up with $105,000, and that's apples to apples.
So, and you'll have time, but so I want to drill down, is your word, so that 100 and what?
105,000.
105,000. So that's taking into account there's no longer paying for a general manager of the district and no longer paying for an office manager of the district, but we do have an operations manager of the district who is not doing a lot of the administrative stuff, but is doing more response, and the administrative stuff is being performed by staff at the fire district, but the ambulance district is paying for it.
Correct.
So-
And the thing we have to look at here is that the ambulance district had a problem. They had no succession planning. The way that we have this new model set up, we now have succession planning. We have a way to have our operations chief in the ambulance district grow and develop so that if something happened, he could take over the department administratively. We have created opportunities to grow and be promoted from within. On the fire side, they took on the Sisla Valley Fire side, they took their business office and said, you know what, we can take on these additional responsibilities of the ambulance district, and we can do it with adding just a half FTE, which we will share 50-50 with the ambulance district. That's a tremendous improvement in productivity. Now, I did drill down and I said, okay, what are some of the other ancillary costs? What happened that wouldn't have happened? Well, they installed the fiber optic cable, so that costs some money. There's some uniforms. There's some other ancillary things that go with implementing this. But I see $105,000 in savings. So what that means, that's half the price of an ambulance, Bob. Half the price.
A little less than that, but that's okay.
Right. But I mean, if you buy a $200,000 vehicle, and I want to point out that one of the reasons why this is so dramatic, that we have this operations chief who is paramedic trained, one of the big problems we have in Oregon is a lack of hospital beds. And so the number of out-of-area transports that we're currently doing in our ambulance district is very taxing to our district, because it means that we have 2 paramedics that are out of service for the entire day if they have to take somebody up to the Portland or the Valley area. That vehicle is gone, and those 2 paramedics are gone. So having an ops chief who is a paramedic, and believe me, our paramedics are outstanding. They're the best. So having that extra staffing is outstanding.
And I want to get back to you because the look on your face, I mean, you agree with him on the organization chart, that's the way it looks? I'm trying to
That's
find
the way
some
it
common
looks,
ground.
but I don't agree at cost savings. One of the things, you have to have people working in the office that can do it accurately.
Mhm.
And I have seen.
And you're saying
this
it
is
hasn't
not
been?
working- No, it is,
Okay.
no, it hasn't. And I guess bottom line, I'm here to work for this community and saving taxes. But I am still appalled at the firing of the one person we had in our ambulance district. that was scandalous, that should have never happened. Now, everything is taken out of the ambulance district and is at the fire. That is so wrong. These folks are paying for a full staff ambulance district.
So you don't think that the ambulance district should go with somebody else and hire, because one of the things that the board did in the last 2 years was contract out billing services.
Oh, absolutely, that needs to be out, because since you and I were on the
Yeah.
board, it went from 500 runs to over 3,000.
But by contracting out
Yes.
for billing services though, how is that different than contracting out for other services like administrative?
And the billing needs to be contracted out. It's far beyond even the people that are working at the fire.
You brought it up, it's people, is it?
And no, it needs to be done accurately and it needs to be done right. And the vendors that we're using is working quite well.
But you don't have confidence in the fire chief and the office manager of Section Valley Fire and
I
Rescue?
really don't have. I
That's
don't
the
think
key,
there's
isn't it?
transparency, yes.
That's the key to it
Yes.
right there. Is,
Yes.
and what I'm kind of hearing is anybody can give you numbers, and unless you can get right in there, you need to study them. It's
Yes.
and when you say lack of transparency, what's been missing?
Well, I guess when you ask a question and you ask to get papers and you ask to get some itemized statements on things, you're given that it isn't there. And so then this comes across my computer here. So I feel like this is not transparency. This is an actual.
This
I
you're referring
want
to.
actual. I
You're
want
referring to
to
an
know.
email though. What is the email?
It's the one that
Oh.
Chief sent to Larry.
Okay.
And I've asked for this
Yeah.
for almost a year to have a spreadsheet. And I want an actual spreadsheet. I don't want this. I want it so that I can understand it and I can take it to one of the people here in the audience and hand it to them if they're not a banker, if they're not a head of a hospital or whatever.
Yeah.
Just us plain working folk.
All right. Larry, one last,
Well,
we're about out of time.
I
Okay,
sat in
that's
a
fine.
meeting,
I'm
I sat in a meeting, I was invited to be the citizen taxpayer advocate for planning for the IGA. Keep in mind, the IGA was not Chief Jim Einborg's idea. He was the person that was tasked with implementing it. This is a copy of the Shared Administrative Services Plan that everybody could have accessed on the website. Anybody could have come to the meetings, anybody could have had this information in front of them. And once both boards, all members of the boards voted for the IGA with the exception of Ann. And at the meetings I attended, Ann said, you know, our business office has not worked properly for 15 years. It's been a problem over and over and over again. And Ann is correct. Billing ambulance services is highly technical. It's something that I actually understand because of my previous work with cost reimbursement. But let's talk about
I want to
transparency.
answer this.
Transparency. Let me
He's
finish.
quoting something that I've said, and you've never asked me anything about the front office, so don't quote me.
Okay, I would just like to address transparency. The chief and the working group for the IGA developed a set of work tasks, who is responsible and what the status of that. And that is financial, administrative, there's all kinds of logistical questions, human resources. Okay, this group has met every month until it was found it was unnecessary to meet every month because things were going along so extremely well. This document is available to anybody and everybody.
Larry, I'm going to jump in and summarize for you.
You bet.
Your point is that it's been an open, transparent process.
Yes,
And
sir.
I think what Ann is saying, she's had specific questions and she doesn't feel like they've been answered well enough. And I want to give you, did you vote against the IGA?
Yes, I did.
You did, okay.
Yes, I did.
It was the problems in the front office for 15 years.
The problem in the front office was only that we needed a part-time person in there, and the gal that was running it at the time, it did not ever work well.
But in all fairness, I sat in the room and heard you say that very same thing,
Yes.
though, that the front office has been messed up for 15 years.
I didn't say 15 years. I
I
said there was,
think,
no,
actually, I
I
think you said
said there
20,
was
but,
5
okay,
people that had
sorry.
been through that office. It wasn't years.
All right, so it's been messed up for quite some time, is what you said, all right. We're out of time, but I think the key dividing issue is trust and trust in the fire chief and the administrative team that the ambulance district is contracting with. Is that a fair assessment, Ann? Oh, trusting Jim Langborg and the fire district to manage the ambulance district, that's the key issue between the difference between you two? One of them?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Thank you all for coming. I'm running out of time, but you brought up something. I encourage you, if you're in the room or if you're listening, find out more about it. Don't ask just these two. Find out more about it. Ask folks around. Rick Yesney, thank you for being here. Mike Webb, thank you for being here. I got to take a break. Be back. We'll take a quick break. Be back. And we'll have a little bit more time with fire district candidates. We'll be back in 2 minutes with more on our town.